Been 1 year since Gabe Gore took over for Kim Gardner as St. Louis Circuit Attorney. During Gardner's tenure, prosecutors were leaving at an alarming rate, and there was a huge backlog of cases. Also, crime in the city reached historic levels. During Gardner's 6 years as the city's top prosecutor, the homicide rate was the highest it had ever been in St. Louis, averaging more than 200 homicides per year, 40% more than the 6 years prior, when the city averaged 147 homicides per year. Well, significant progress was made after Gabe Gore took over last year, with the city's homicide rate dropping 20% to levels closer to what we saw before Gardner. However, progress appears to may have stalled this year a bit, with homicides through May about even compared to last year. So to talk about this is St. Louis Circuit Attorney Gabe Gore. Thanks for joining me here. He's going to talk about crime in the city and what's being done to improve the Circuit Attorney's office. Mr. Gore, let's talk about what happened over the weekend, what we saw. 17 people shot in the city of St. Louis. 3 individuals died. Seems like homicides are ticking back up a bit. Do you believe things are still moving in the right direction in the city of St. Louis?
I do. I have a lot of confidence in the program that Chief Tracy has in place, the strategies he has for increasing enforcement. So, you know, you can't look at it, and you know, it was an unfortunate weekend with a lot of tragic events, but that's a bit of an anomaly. You got to kind of look at it on a longer time span, and overall, you know, we're building on the progress that we started last year.
It's been well documented, the staffing shortage in the office under Kim Gardner. How has that changed under your direction? Let's talk about current vacancies, and when it comes to recruitment and retention, how's that going, and what is it going to take to get to fully staffed at the Circuit Attorney's office?
So since I've been Circuit Attorney, we've been very fortunate. I've hired 33 attorneys. 21 of them had former experience as prosecutors. Collectively, we're talking about a group that has over 130 years of prosecutorial experience. So it's been a great group, and we've added some very talented young attorneys. So hiring's going well. We've had very little attrition, and we just got to keep building on that, keep investing in our attorneys, investing in training, being competitive on salary, and I think we will continue the trend of restaffing the office.
And we had a chance to talk to you last week, and you said that the backlog in cases has been cut down by about 60%. How many violent crime cases are still pending in the city of St. Louis?
The exact number of violent crimes pending, I can't give you an exact number, but it's I'm sure it's probably hundreds, certainly.
What is it going to take to fully get caught up?
So in terms of the backlog of cases that were pending in the Warren office that hadn't been reviewed, we've reviewed all of the violent crimes that were in there. The high priority violent crimes have been reviewed and charged, and what's left there are your lower level felonies. In terms of working through the backlog of cases that just exist in our office, because right now we're at a situation where our caseloads are basically double what they typically are, that's going to take, you know, a couple of years to work through.
I want to ask you about a couple comments that Chief Tracy made yesterday about convicted felons even using the term gang members continuing to commit crimes in the city of St. Louis. What is the solution to stop those repeat offenders? And when we talk about gangs, how prevalent are gangs in the city of St. Louis?
You know, the first thing is when we know that the violent crime being committed in the city of St. Louis is actually being committed by a very small percentage of people who are reoffending at a regular rate. So what you've got to do is you've got to focus on that small group of violent offenders who are repeatedly committing violent offenses, and you have to prosecute them effectively. You know, you've got to charge them, get them detained because they pose a danger to the public, and then be effective in getting a conviction and getting the people off the street. So that's what we're focused on doing, working closely with the St. Louis Police Department in doing that.
Is your office, when you're filing these cases, are you seeing these individuals part of gang members? That are gang members?
I think the gang issue is maybe a little different than it was in the 90s when, you know, it was the big thing was colors and the Crips and the Bloods. I think you see associations of criminal organizations, people who kind of get together and commit crimes together or conspire to commit different crimes. In terms of a focus on gang, that's not something that we're seeing a lot of.
You know, one last question for you. We continue to ask police, St. Louis police, for body camera video from the school shooting that happened in Central VPA back in 2022, but police say that they can't hand it over because it's an ongoing investigation. You know, it's been a year and a half. What else do you know that is being investigated, either by the police department or your office? And do you expect to file more charges in that case?
Currently, I don't think we're reviewing any charges in connection with that case. So in terms of what is being investigated right now, I wouldn't be familiar with that.
So your office, even though police say that it's a continued investigation, are you aware of anything that they're still investigating or that your office is still investigating when it comes to that shooting?
I'm not aware that we are currently conducting an investigation, but that doesn't mean that SLMPD is not investigating. If they complete their investigation and they have additional information to present to us, we certainly will review that and investigate it and make a charging decision.
Do you think that that body cam video should be released?
To be honest with you, I haven't given that any thought.
Okay.
It's not something that's been presented to my office or that I've had to consider.
All right, really appreciate your time, Gabe Gore. Thank you.
Thank you.